One of my favorite things about this current era of rap we're in is how varied everything is. Like, yeah, there's the mainstream sound, but take one step out of it and you'll discover that everyone is making everything. Subgenres have never been more alive, and a favorite of mine has been British rap. Now, of course, British rap has always been a thing, that's not a new concept, but this new era of it and the popularity these artists have seen, not just there but globally, should be celebrated. So that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to talk about my favorite British rappers, what they've done, and why I like them. Before we start, there are a ton of British rappers. I'm not going to be talking about a lot of them. I'm also not British, in case you couldn't tell, so there's probably some people who I didn't include in this video who I've never even heard of. This list is just the ones that captivated me mainly, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the vast world of other artists outside of just these guys. Without any further ado, let's get started with our first lad.
Okay.
Let's start off with esdeekid, who by this point isn't just one of the biggest rappers in the UK, he's one of the biggest rappers period right now. And I find that really interesting since unlike mostly everyone else here, he didn't have his major blow up until last year. He's been releasing stuff since 2023, but of course the Rebel mixtape is what put him on the map. The project dropped last June and gradually gained attention over the course of the year, peaking near the end of it, thanks largely in part to TikTok, which you're definitely going to hear me mention a lot here. Most of these guys got discovered by the public through their songs going viral, and in the long run, we've seen what the pros and cons of that can be. The pros being that you have this meteoric, organic rise to popularity, your music's constantly getting promoted without you having to do anything, and you grow an engaged community. Pretty solid deal, except it comes at the cost of being overexposed. Suddenly your music is too popular. People are tired of hearing it all the time. You grow a fan base, but a percentage of that is very fickle. They are going to move on to the next big song. You are essentially fast-tracked to becoming a fad. You can't escape that cycle, but it's very hard to. You kind of just have to get by, which I think SD is doing well, but it's also too early to tell. He hasn't really released much since Rebel dropped, and he's mainly been focused on touring, which is a different route compared to what I see most TikTok artists do, so I hope that with his next project, we see him continue to have that upward momentum. But if not, at least Rebel is proven to have lasting popularity, so in the absolute worst case scenario, he's got that. But on the topic of his music, I think as a lot of people's introduction to the British scene, his sound is pretty solid and easy to get into. Which is important as British rappers tend to blend genres a lot more than Americans do. So in my eyes, viewing him and some of the other bigger British guys as gateway artists makes it easier to kind of acclimate, as SD's music is pretty close to US underground music, just with some added flair. I'd say the two distinct things I like about his music are one, the versatility he and everyone he features on his songs has. As you'll begin to see, the British rap scene is pretty tight-knit with frequent collaborations, and seeing the way they all adapt and fit so well in this production is really cool. And secondly, the abrasiveness of that production. Wraith 9's punchy style matches really well with SD's raw scruffy accent, and it gives these songs a lot of energy and makes them really fun to listen to. A regular collaborator of esdeekid who I feel pushes this sentiment even further is fimiguerro. Fimiguerro has been around for a while now, starting back in 2019. He'd see his rise to popularity in 2023 after dropping the projects Black and Immigrant. Taking the hype he got from those, he followed up on them in 2024 with New World Order and Conglomerate with Lancey, Foux, and Lynn. This run put him on the map in the British underground, which he fueled further by once again collaborating with everyone else in the scene. Fimi's music from this era I'm still a big fan of. In particular, that clubby production and aggressive vocals really made for some good music, but as of late he shifted away from that sound, picking up more electronic influence, which I am into as well. My only problem with it is the pacing, unfortunately. The new stuff, while it's still very bassy and loud, the beats just don't really allow him to rap the way he was before. But I'm not gonna knock him for experimenting. I think there's a lot of potential in what he's doing, we just gotta hear more of it. So I am looking forward to his next album, whenever it's ready, to see if he develops it more. But another British artist whose recent sound change took a while for me to get was fakemink. fakemink has quickly become my favorite artist in this circle. He is on a level with production and atmosphere that I haven't seen since the glory days of the cloud rap Tumblr era, and I find it so refreshing. No one else is doing it like him right now. His career started back in 2020 under the name 9090gate at the age of 15. Mind you, Mink was rapping and producing completely on his own, taking elements of drum and bass and cloud rap and applying it all to the jerk genre nearly everyone in this video is connected to. For 3 years, he consistently put out singles and EPs, maintaining a very low-key mysterious presence until the release of his debut album, London's Savior. This album is honestly worth its own video, that's how strongly I feel about it. The dark production, the samples, the fact that it was made in 3 days, there's so much to like about it, and after release, he caught buzz and went into 2024 dropping even more singles. In April of that year, he changes his name to fakemink and spends that year doing one thing and one thing only: dropping music. His output in 2024 was so crazy, nobody can seem to agree on how crazy it was. At least 50, maybe 115, probably somewhere around 80. Meaning at minimum, he pretty much did a song a week. Absolutely insane. 2025 would prove to be even bigger as he started the year out with Easter Pink, one of his biggest songs to date, drops Music in Me a couple months later, also does very well. Then at Wireless Fest, he's brought out by Drake, undeniably a giant moment, and that coupled with even more hype from his singles set him up to begin rolling out his next album, Terrified, at the start of 2026. He announced the project would be released in 2 parts, a standalone EP in January, then the full album in May. The EP, I'll admit, I wasn't super blown away by. A few songs I liked, but the project overall felt like a downgrade, not just compared to London's Savior, but compared to the songs he was dropping just months before as well. The album, however, caught me by complete surprise. I know he overhyped it and people were let down because of that, but as someone who ignored all of that and went in blind, I thought it was pretty good. The production's great, the vocals, I know everyone hates the chipmunk auto-tune on this album. Call me crazy, but I think it fits. The production is already very crunchy and distorted, so the vocals also being like that, I think it adds up. Experimental music is supposed to be experimental. It's okay if you don't like it, that is why artists are supposed to iterate. But back to his music overall, I think it's all very exciting to follow. It's not perfect and he comes off as pretentious a lot, but I believe he's building a really incredible discography, one that for better or worse is unique to him. Continuing with the trend of British rappers mixing genres, we have maybe the best example of that with legxacy. Starting out in 2019, legxacy carved out his sound by mixing rap, R&B, rock, and house production with raw, vulnerable lyrics. It's honestly hard to describe his music fully. It really is a mix of just about everything, and his projects, while short, make that insane combination of genres completely seamless, while also taking you, the listener, on a journey. A favorite of mine would be Block Hug. In the first half of the song, he sings about his upbringing in the hood and the pressure to be something you're not in order to maintain an appearance of being tough, and how that forces you to repress your emotions. Then the beat changes and he goes into a verse, now from the perspective of himself in that tough persona, rapping about how he was able to break out of that mindset while also taking pride in the fact that he was able to survive in that environment at all. It's that level of versatility and storytelling that makes me appreciate his music. He tackles subjects that we've seen before in a way that gives these stories more depth and puts them in a new light. Now moving back to the more traditional artists, we have another close associate of fimiguerro and lancey foux, that being YT. YT has been making music since 2016, also starting in his teenage years. He'd blow up in 2021 from the single Arc'teryx, and later on his mixtapes, Still Swaggin' and Oi! An aspect of YT's music that I really like is how energetic it is. Not energetic in the way of being loud or overpowering like rage stuff, but energetic in a fun way. It gives me really big party vibes. His production is also really fun. Of course, gotta mention the Oi tag, absolute banger. There's something really nostalgic about his production that I can't really put my finger on, but it makes me reminiscent of like early 2010s swag era stuff. Kind of like a modern, faster version of that, if that makes any sense. Also, on the topic of aesthetics, YT has insane music videos, literally never disappoints. There's always some crazy VFX work going into them. One of the more underrated artists on this list, but undoubtedly a heavy hitter. Now for a staple of British rap, Dave. Dave is a complete outlier on this list. He isn't from this rising generation of rappers. He's been popular since the 2010s, but continued to stick around obviously, and is by far the biggest rapper on this list. So let's jump in. Dave would get his start in a really unique way. Back in 2016, he did a freestyle on the channel Black Box. It got an insane amount of attention, still being their most viewed video even today. So that put him on instantly, and he began dropping officially to critical acclaim and major success in the UK. Around the same time, Drake does a remix to his song Wanna Know, and of course a Drake feature will blow up any song. This was no different, and his career continues to snowball to the point where when he dropped his debut album Psychodrama in 2019, it goes #1 in the UK, which I know isn't super crazy. A UK #1 is not on the same level as a US #1, but still, this was 3 years into his career, already hitting insane milestones. His second album drops in 2021, it does even better, gets some major collaborations on it as well with Stormzy and James Blake. In 2023, he takes his collabs up a notch and releases the Split Decision EP with Central C, which featured the track Sprinter, one of the biggest songs of that year. Then he took some time off and returned with his latest album, The Boy Who Played the Harp, late last year. I think what makes Dave and his music special is how dense his lyrics are. He covers a lot of different topics like social issues, race, and politics in a very straight-laced, bold way. His last album especially, it's got a very reflective, somber tone that, similar to Jim Legacy's stuff, I feel better represents the stories he's trying to tell. If I could use a big word to make myself sound smart, I'd say his lyrics are poignant. Even when the subject matter isn't something as serious as like Parliament, for example, it's still presented in a way that's deep and hard-hitting. Now on to our final artist. Rounding out the video, we're going to talk about Lancey Foux, someone whose career this decade could probably be a standalone video, but here I'm going to try to make it concise and show what his trajectory has looked like over the last couple of years. Lancey started releasing music in 2015, experimenting a bit before settling on a sound and gaining attention near the end of the decade. His breakout album Friend or Foe dropped in 2019, and going into the 2020s, he continued to build up steam until the release of Life in Hell, where the song Lancey or Lancey blew up on TikTok. I feel like literally everyone heard this song in the summer of 2023, and he had really started to become more mainstream because of it. He dropped back to the trap around that same time, and it looked like his career was taking off. In 2024, we got Conglomerate with fimiguerro and Lynn, but then nothing, and this is where his story takes an unfortunate turn. In 2025, Lancey kinda dropped off the radar, not releasing much, which was a bit unexpected, and at the start of 2026, we'd find out why when he began to make his label battle public. To make it simple, labels do this really cool thing where if they no longer see you as a priority, they'll just hoard your music, not letting you release it until your deal is up, where you now have a fraction of your popularity because you didn't release music, effectively killing your career. Man, I love this industry. It's so fair, stifling artists for profit, the way Mozart intended. Lancey got screwed bad. He couldn't drop his album, couldn't tour, just stuck in career limbo. Luckily though, it seems that in recent months he's been able to resolve whatever was going on, as now he does have his album ready to come out. It's coming out officially on streaming, not untitled like his last tape was, and I really think that with the right vibe, Lancey could make a comeback. His career was cut off at its peak, both commercially and artistically. His latest singles have been great, and with the album coming out properly this time, I feel like he can easily regain the public's attention. That's it for this one, guys. It's been too long. I've been gone for way too long. I hate making one video a month. It's so demotivating to me. We are back now though, so I'm gonna try to get back to at least 2 videos a month. I feel like that's the bare minimum in my eyes, so stick around for that. I think they'll be pretty exciting. As always, like, subscribe, follow my socials, stay clouded everyone, see ya.